Thanks, Joshua, for joining me. Super excited. Got to preview the first 40 minutes of the film and with the kids who are 7 and 10. And I have to say that the entire time they were thrilled at the animation of the sea beasts. You know, looking at the film and everything like that, it was crazy, just like the animation part of it, like just the minute details that you could see on the characters and everything like that. And I know you guys talked a little bit about that on the presentation, but we were kind of curious about, the sea creatures in itself, just because of the realistic look like that they had. And so we're kind of trying to see where you guys got the inspiration. Did you guys go to aquariums? Did you guys, take some pictures of dinosaurs and kind of try to do stuff? So we were kind of curious about that.
Well, from beast to beast, it's going to be a slightly different story, but we talked a lot about like animal psychology. We wanted to make sure that there were creatures. Like I personally try to avoid that word realistic because we're still making a fantasy. To me, it's like chasing believability, making this whole fantasy a new type of believable. We for some of the beasts, we needed them to feel wise, like animal way, like a lion can feel that way. Like you stare into a lion, there's like a deepness that you don't know whether to trust or not. There's still very much a real present threat. Or like a horse can feel that way as well, or like there's this peaceful wisdom in there. So that's one of the things that psychologically we're focusing on, and just animalistic, anything we could draw from reality, studying lots of sea creatures. We didn't get to go to aquariums, but I am big into video reference, and there's lots and lots of video reference for these things, especially underwater. There is fantastic, like if you can imagine it, an animal does it.
Yeah, like I said, we definitely noticed, a little bit about that. And kind of just like the cinematography of like of everything, especially like the last scene where you have the sea beast, and you have Jacob and he goes into, save Maisie, and it's just like that moment that they have underwater where they're just like he's like looking at them, it's like how do I imagine going through all these storyboards and coming together like with the whole team. Like, how long did it take you guys, for example, to do a scene like that?
Well, we specifically go like shot by shot. I don't have my finger on the pulse of how long a scene took. I mean, we worked on animation on this movie for about a year and a half, I think. And again, like I said, this was just over 180 animators worked on this movie, so it was a massive undertaking. Well, I wish I had the numbers. I'm terrible at numbers. I wish I had the more the shapes and
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
it
It's so
was
complex.
intensive. This is the most intensive project I've ever worked on.
I was gonna say, like just being able to see a couple of different animated films and stuff, in itself, it's just like the complexity, either, the hair waving in the air, while they're on the boat, or, the rope, action.
Here's the thing, like a lot of this film takes place on the ship, and every angle you point the camera, there's another 40 characters in the scene. So and it's not like how it is in a lot of animated films where that's a crowd super in the distance. They're like right there. You're immersed in them at all times.
And how did you feel when you learned about the project and you knew you're going to be working on it?
Stoked. I'm up for a challenge. I'm big into trying to push myself out of my comfort zone and figure out things I haven't done before. And this movie was full of it. I wasn't joking when I said I read the script, and like there's a whole bunch of things I knew we needed to get into high gear in order to pull this project off. If we tried to solve a little bit too late, we would be in trouble.
Yeah. And another question it has, like, when the cast is recording, and doing all that stuff, how hard is it to kind of translate kind of like the mimicking that goes into the character building, per se?
The mimicking that goes in the character building?
For example, like, when they're recording and then you guys have to do the lip movement, and sometimes, people
Yeah.
might want to use like a hand gesture or something like that. So how difficult was kind of that transition in that aspect?
I think encourage every animator to bring their ideas to the table as much as possible. And Chris is really open-minded, but he also has a very clear vision. So that's the tricky thing, marrying people's ideas with what needs to be told, what Chris is already imagining it will be. And that's why a lot of animators went to like filming when I showed you that little montage of the idea of just filming themselves as reference. And like you're saying, the lips moving in sync with the audio, that's always a challenge. Actors get when they speak, somehow their mouth just moves for free, but we have to force that kind of to happen.
Yeah. I think my last question too would be, for example, if you had to pick a scene that you really loved, kind of like the animation because it was just so complex, if you had to pick one scene in particular that you really, really enjoyed, which one would it be?
I meant what I said. Where like, some of the more subtle stuff. I don't want to spoil anything though, because my favorite stuff is in the back half in that regard.
All right, in the first 40 minutes. I'm just joking. And yeah, I guess the last thing would be is what are you what do you want families to kind of take away from the series or from the movie? Sorry.
That's a great question. Well, I think one of the themes in the movie is that we all have to grow, and like even when you think you're the hero, you might not be. You gotta. Well, I don't know if I'm stepping on the plot point there, but yeah, we all have a lot of ways to grow.
Yeah. And my son, who is 10, he has ASD. And one of the biggest thing is creating characters all the time. So if you had words of wisdom for those that are up and coming animators that want to get into the business, what would that be?
Spend as much time as you can just observing life. I think a lot of animators just jump into like wanting to study animation and goes to try the material, but the best stuff that's pushing the boundaries is coming from people that are bringing their own life into it. So the more of your own life you have to begin with, the further you'll go that way. And luckily, animation's like a medium that is all of the art forms, and it's impossible to master all of it within a lifetime. It's just there's too much within the boundaries of it. So don't even try. Just try and make your thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joshua, for taking the time
Sorry,
to.
you're muted. I missed you there.
Oh, no, I was saying thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I think that people are going to love the film. We love the film. So we're excited for it. So thank you again for taking the time.
It's a real pleasure.
All right.